Hello and welcome to Visit Paul Daily. It's the 24th of September, it's a Saturday, and the subject I'm going to be covering today isn't the one that I mentioned last night. I did say I would be covering about public speaking, but having thought about that this morning, there's actually quite a lot involved, because when I'm going to cover this subject to help you make it easier for yourself to do public speaking, whether it's to an audience or whether it's just to a friend on a mobile phone, I really want to cover how I started many years ago when I was sort of thrown into public speaking. But don't worry, you won't be thrown into it. It's the way I do it now, the way I'm going to explain it to you. It's going to be a lot easier. But I've decided to leave that for Monday. I've actually got about 10 or 11 days off work now. So what I'm going to do on Monday is make probably 2 or 3 videos per day. So it saves me rushing and wondering what the subject's going to be that day. So it might take a half a week up to the week next week to cover those subjects in roughly a 20-minute format each day, because it is too much information for 20 minutes for one session. But also I want it to be something that you can actually go back to. As this is on video format, you can just go back to session 2, session 3 of how to speak easily. And get that covered, and just to help yourself. So I've decided to change today's to morning habits. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be covering different habits that we do during the day. So one that I've changed over the last year or so is morning habits, how you start your day. Now, what's the first thing that happens in the morning when you wake up? Usually the alarm's going off. You've got an alarm going off, and it could be one of those really sort of rah 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 sirens, and it's like a siren. And I don't know why we have those kind of alarms. It's not something we really want. Change it. I actually use my mobile phone now. But if you're waking up startled, you're actually waking up alarmed. So it's not a good way to start your day. The idea of this change in habits in the morning is so you have a better start of the day, and you'll find that your mood's better and how you conduct the day is better because you're not rushing. The whole thing is rushed. So think about changing your alarm from that alarm, that noisy alarm that's going to go off, that startles you, where you wonder whether the kitchen's on fire, or is it really time to get up already? I now use my mobile phone, or cell phone as you would call it in the States, but I have it switched off of a night time, so I'm not listening to any bleeping from Facebook or anything else, but the alarm still works. And I've gone through the settings and I've actually changed it to an ascending musical alarm. So it's actually quite a nice musical tone, not a thump that's going to frighten the life out of me, but it starts off very soft and gets louder. But I find that I've actually turned it off already before it's even gone 25% of its ascent. So that's quite good. So that's something you can change quite easily so you don't get startled when you first wake up. The second thing I wanted to change, it's just a habit now, an easy habit. I allow myself about an hour in the morning before I'm due at work. Some people just rush out of bed, the alarm's gone off, they're going to rush, they jump into the car, they realise they haven't got a lot of time, they're rushing as they're driving, probably too fast, just to get to work on time because they haven't allowed themselves enough time. And you'll see I work very, very early in the morning. As you know, I get up at 3 o'clock and I start work at 4. But for those of you that have the rush hour traffic, you just look at people in rush hour and you can just see them rushing and thinking, why don't they just allow another 15, 20 minutes to do that? So the main thing is to allow yourself time in the morning to have a breakfast. So you've changed your alarm, you're going to have something that's ascending musically, something quite nice that's not going to frighten the life out of you in the morning. The second thing is have something to eat, have some breakfast. Just even if it's a bowl of cereal, it doesn't have to be anything, a full cooked breakfast, it could be a bowl of cereal. But if you allow yourself that time just to sit down quietly and have that, and don't put the television on because it's probably just bad news all the time. I actually use my Alexa, my music thing. I've actually, before making this video, I've just looked at it now, it's making colouring. I've had to turn my Alexa down because if I said, Alexa, play love songs, it would start playing love songs, and I don't want it to. I obviously want to make this video. But I used to have the news on, but the news is all full of bad news. There's no good news, is there? So why have that? So the best thing is just to have some nice music while I'm having my breakfast. If it was a little bit later in the day for me, and the weather's quite nice as it is at the moment, if it was 7 o'clock, for instance, like it used to be when my previous job, I'd be sitting outside having breakfast because it's just nice to hear birds. And it's quite nice not to rush. You think this is quite nice. And it just takes a few minutes. So skip the news, skip the television. If you've got music, just put some music on and do that. But what's the first thing after you've had your breakfast, you see in the morning? Well, for many people, it's the mobile phone, your cell phone, or your laptop, because they immediately go back onto their social media. It could be Instagram, Facebook, and everything else, to see what messages are on there. But what are you really seeing? You're seeing, in reality, everyone else's priorities, everyone else's issues and challenges, and then some messages that have probably been left for you. So 80% of people, apparently, first thing they do in the morning before they even have breakfast is check their social media from the night before to see who's got back to me, who's left me a like, because you've got to be liked, haven't you? But it puts you in the wrong frame of mind, because you've started the day answering everyone else's questions when you really ought to be starting the day to do what you're paid for, to go to work. Someone's paying you to go and do a job. So that can be left, alone. So if you leave the mobile phone alone, you've got up nicely with a nice alarm that hasn't startled you. You've sat down and decided you're going to have some breakfast. Just sit there, put some music on low so you don't wake anybody else up in the house if there are other people in the house. Leave the mobile phone switched off. And it's easy, but when you first do it, it isn't easy, because you just want to grab that phone and just to have a look who's left me a message. But if you drive to work, I allow myself 25 minutes at least to drive to work, because that's what it takes me. I need to be there for 4 o'clock, so I'm out of the house by 25 to 4, and I don't drive more than 50 mile an hour. I don't need to drive fast on the roads, and at the moment it's actually quite foggy in the morning, so that heating goes on full blast. Again, some nice music goes on, and I'm not rushing to work. So when I get to work, I'm on time. I've not had to rush, not had to worry about speed cameras, anything flashing behind me. So allow enough time to get to work so you're not rushing. And if you do want to answer your messages before you start work, just have a quick flick through. But the easiest way I've found now to answer those messages is not to sit there typing, because that's going to make you late for work. You remember this week, over the last few days, I've been on about in Messenger and also in WhatsApp, you've got a little microphone button there. Press the microphone button. On Messenger, you have to press and hold it. I think on WhatsApp, you can just press it, and then you can record, and then you press the little arrow, and it will send that. But you can actually read the messages from your friends or whoever sent you a message. Press the record button. You can answer that and record, which is actually quicker than sitting there trying to type it and going through spell checker and everything else. But later that day, whoever's looking at your messages, it's easier for them to find those messages because they can see a small line that's been recorded. So rather than them scrolling up and down trying to find your name, they just look for the recording, because you're doing something different that most people don't do. You're leaving a recording so they can hear your voice. So they can go back and listen to that recording the same way that you can come back into this video and listen to the video. So that's really my 5 tips to change your habits for breakfast in the morning. First tip is change your alarm clock from a screaming thing that's going to frighten the life out of you to soft music, which you could do through your mobile phone. And you don't have to have your phone switched on to do it. The alarm will go off when your phone's switched off, and it will always get you up in the morning. The second thing was allow yourself enough time to have breakfast. Just sit down calmly and not rush, which is quite nice, not to rush your food. The third thing is don't look at your mobile phone straight away. Leave it. Just don't even look at it for a while. The fourth thing is allow yourself enough time to drive to work without you rushing, without worrying about speed cameras, and without you breaking the speed limit. And you'll find you're also saving fuel as well, because you're only sitting at 45, 50 mile an hour if you're on a carriageway like I am. And the sixth thing is, if you do want to answer your messages before you start work, in case it's something to do with work, the easiest way to answer them and a quicker way to answer them is use the little voice recording. And it's a lot quicker, and it's something different. And you'll find that the people you were doing that with now start to respond using a voice recording. I've had at least 5 people that normally speak to me this week by text messaging are now using the voice recording, and I only started it of Tuesday of this week, just putting that idea into your head. So it's actually quite a nice simple habit to get into, and it's very, very, very simple to do. So tomorrow is Sunday, and I know it's like come and visit Paul Daly, so thank you for that. Thanks for visiting me today. But on Sundays, I just think everyone should have Sundays off. I'm certainly having Sunday off, so there won't be any videos tomorrow. Monday, I'm obviously going to start the new series, which might take half a week. It might take a little bit more. It'll be 20-minute segments of about public speaking and how to make it easier. I'm certainly going to show you how to make that a lot easier. So I hope you come and visit me again on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on, and get that done. Any comments that you have about that, please leave it in the description below, or send them to me at incomedriven@gmail.com, because sometimes when I look on YouTube and I look at my messages or any comments people have sent me, they don't always come through, and I don't know why. Sometimes it's a blank page, sometimes I can see 20 or 30 messages. But if you send them to me by email, guaranteed to get it, and I can also answer your emails and questions as well, which I've done today. Got a lovely message today from Mark in the States. And he's in in my primary business to do with an IT company, but he's an English guy that lives in America. He lives in Minneapolis. I worked there for a while. It's quite a nice place to be. But he's been watching my videos over the last 2 or 3 days and said, love the concept of your videos where you're actually going to visit people and you're going to visit them by video call. He said, my mum lives back in the UK, and yes, I ring her, but it's just a speaking thing on the end of a phone. He said, now I'm starting to do video calls with her, and it's much better because I can actually see her for one, and I can also see how well she looks, if she's okay. So he said, I'm going to keep doing that in the future. Well done, bud. So it's a simple habit that we can change, but doesn't it make a difference? If you can't visit people in person, visit them with a video call. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please press the subscribe button and the notification button there. If you do the top bell with the little arrows next to it, anytime I make a video, it'll notify you that I've made one. And I hope you're getting some value out of this. And it's something that I wanted to do for a while now, and I've had great feedback from people from various countries around the world in just this week alone. So it's obviously something I want to continue with it. And if you've got subjects that you think you would like me, can I talk about? Please, again, send me an email. Say, well, do you know anything about this? Can you talk about that? If I can, I'll get back to you, and I'll do that as a subject each day. I want to try and keep the videos to about 15 to 20 minutes. This one's just coming up to 13 minutes and we're done. So hopefully I'll keep your interest. But thank you very much for visiting me today. And as I say, I can't promise you more years. I can't promise me more years. But what I can promise you is another visit. So I'll visit you again Monday. I look forward to seeing that, and thanks very much for your time. Okay, have a really good weekend. Bye-bye.